All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker. This is WPwatercooler, episode number 133. Today we're going to be talking about WordPress 4.2. Let's go around the room here real quick and get everyone introduced. It's going to be a very short introduction. Drew, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Drew. Was that short enough for you? Hi, my name is Drew. I'm a developer, docs committer for WordPress core, and I was recently the WordPress 4.2 release lead.
Very cool. What about you, Steve?
I am Steve Zengid. I am the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup, and we'll be meeting tonight at my office at 7 o'clock.
Very cool. What about you, Suzette?
Hello, everybody. I'm Suzette Franck, and I am a freelance WordPress professional, and I am a teacher with Girl Develop It, and I have a class coming up. It's an HTML and CSS refresher.
Very
so
cool.
if you haven't used it in a while, need a refresher, it's a good class to take.
I need a refresher anyway, and I use it every day.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me Jason Tucker on Twitter, and I blog over at WPmedia.pro and jasontucker.us. So, wow, that was quick. That was, what, 15 seconds? That's pretty awesome. It's
That was
like
the
2
quickest
minutes.
intro ever, I
We're
think.
good.
Let's make this a 15-minute show today.
Right. But we may. We'll see. So WordPress 4.2 came out, and Steve was even
Thursday.
Yeah, Steve was asking, he's like, did that already come out? Because, the previous meetup that you kind of talked about it, you were talking about it, as if it was going to be coming out. So,
yeah.
How's everything looking with it?
I think it's looking great so far.
Awesome.
Every release has its little bugs after the fact, but I think we're looking pretty good at this point. And
That never happens.
We just about hit our date too, which is pretty exciting for me.
That's good.
We didn't really anticipate having a point release like the day before release, so it was probably the smart move to move it back.
So this one is codenamed Powell, right?
That's right.
And that's
A jazz pianist.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
So how do you get picked to be the guy that manages the release?
Well, I don't know yet. I don't know the answer.
Did you draw the short straw, or what happened?
I think the easiest way to think about it is if you consistently show up and do what you say you're going to do, then good things will happen. And that's pretty much how the core team works. This was my 10th release. So I showed up for 10 releases, and then they asked me to lead one. So I don't know if it'll take everyone 10 releases, but...
So this is your first one as the lead.
That's right.
Okay.
How much effort
so wait,
put into that?
hang on a second. Define
Okay.
that. So you showed up for 10 releases. What does that mean?
I mean, I gradually progressed and gradually got more and more active as those 10 releases went by, right? So I was a core contributor for like the first 3 or 4, then recent rockstar, then contributing developer, then docs committer, then release lead. So it was
Okay.
a progression, really.
I'm asking for the edification of our audience. I mean, there's a lot of people who ask us, how do you get involved? How do you become part of the core team?
Honestly, one of the best ways to do it is to show up and start doing the jobs that no one else wants to do.
What did I just say?
The job no one else wants, like, who really enjoys doing docs? Nobody enjoys writing the documentation. It's a long thing that most folks have to slug through, but Drew stepped up along with Kim and really knocked out a huge chunk of it, got folks excited, got folks active on it. And to actually chase down the things that, I mean, everyone is always going to be excited to work on the shiny new features that everyone might be eager to do, but to actually pay down the technical debt and to work on the infrastructure, that's how you establish yourself as a stable, reliable person that the core team can really rely on and turn to as a release lead.
And come on, Drew's the one that brought in emojis. No, just kidding.
I love
emojis.
It's my favorite.
Emojis.
It's absolutely true, though. It's like, and I'm not even necessarily, when I started, I wasn't even the most qualified to take on maintaining inline documentation in core. It's mostly that there was a giant hole and someone needed to step up, and so I did. Right? That's why I am where I am, because I stepped up. and I stepped out of my comfort zone, which now it's totally my comfort zone, and I actually enjoy it. Maybe that's Stockholm Syndrome talking. But, I mean, but seriously speaking, I didn't really necessarily even know what I was doing when I started, but now, look where I am, so.
But you have a day job, right?
I do. I have a day job that pays me to do this half the time.
Okay, good.
So,
okay. Talk about that a little bit.
Well,
how does that work?
At 10up, I'm a developer, right? And I work on client projects half the time, and the other half the time they donate my time to core. So when I was leading the 4.2 release for the last 3.5 months, they actually donated 100% of my time for 3.5 months.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Which I think means that I can never leave 10up because now I owe them.
You have technical debt and real debt.
I think I have technical debt with 10up now.
If Steve did that, he would have gotten through, like, I don't know, half of Netflix, so that's pretty awesome.
What?
No repeats.
All right. Go ahead, Jim. Let's get on to the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that that came out within 4.2. You know, I'm looking at the site here. I've been playing with it myself. You know, dashboard looks the same. You know, so
there are some little things in there that you'll notice though that are pretty awesome.
There's a lot of really long-standing under-the-hood improvements, like now you can enable conditional comments for JavaScript. So if you want to drop the HTML5 shim in to enable like HTML5 support in older versions of Internet Explorer, you can actually enqueue that properly instead of just printing out in the head manually with conditional comments.
Sure.
Our audience just went.
Well, all right. Let me give you one example. I can give you one that they can relate to. All right.
Okay.
We had it. It's just
this is not emoji.
Simplest thing. Stupidest, simplest thing, right? If you're on the pages listing now, and you have a page set as your home page or your blog page, that's notated in the list table now.
I love that. That was the first thing I
So
noticed.
it says like this is your home page or this is your blogs page, which
Very cool.
and I think it even conditionally like disables the editor or something.
Yeah. And the editor itself got a nice update that I just saw put on Twitter last night. That if you're pasting in a hyperlink, all you need to do is select the text, paste the link, and it'll automatically linkify it. You don't need to actually go into the modal anymore.
Ooh,
Some people, I mean, the problem with
like
that is some people do not consider that to be a feature. Like, they're like, it's not supposed to work like that. I mean, I suppose once you know how it works, then it's...
You just stop at work. It's not supposed to work.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course it works. It's WordPress. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a ton of stuff like that.
Yeah. No,
I think one of the biggest improvements in the customizer is the ability to preview themes that you have installed. Because that wasn't, you couldn't do that before. You had to actually like log out or do other stuff. But that's a really nice feature.
Well, and the best part about that is not just previewing themes, but you can preview the theme and change settings and stuff with that theme in the preview. And then if you exit, it just like goes back to how it was before. So I'm just waiting for somebody like to write a plugin that lets you like do presets, like save your settings as presets and pass them from one site to another, or
That's a good idea.
I think there's endless possibilities with some of the stuff they're going to be doing in the customizer in the future.
The one that sticks out to me is shared term splitting.
Yeah, that
sounds pretty rad.
It's part of the taxonomy roadmap. You know, we've been moving more and more away from, so in this case we have terms that are shared across multiple taxonomies. Before they were like tied together with the term taxonomy ID, and it was like not super. And I'm sure George can probably shed some light on this, but it's basically like when you update one term that's shared with another, it creates a new term instead of updating all of them now. So now you don't have that problem where you have a tag and a category that have the same slug, and you like update one and it updates the other, and it gets really screwy.
Right.
You can do that now.
Basically just closed a 6 or an 8-year-old ticket.
It was a really old ticket.
It had been opened by Ryan McHugh when he was like 12 years old or something.
Wow.
I mean, it's been a very long-standing issue that is really, really horrible if you hit it, but it's very hard to hit. Just because you need to have a category and a tag that are both named the same thing, and then only want to change one of them.
The users do that all the time, though, so I could see that happening.
Yeah. So this is just going to split it, and the only concern that developers need to be aware of is when you split it, one of them is no longer going to have the same term ID. So if you had previously been referring to things by term ID, you may now be pointing at something that doesn't exist anymore. There's a couple ways to caveat for it, but you just need to be aware of it. But it's a relatively small fix.
All right, so let's talk about one of my favorite features, which I think is a feature that's not used enough and really not that apparent to most people.
Is it press this?
Which is press this. Yes.
Oh yes,
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Press this. I've been using
It's
this.
awesome, but it's hard to find it.
Yeah,
Well,
well, if you don't know it exists, you just miss it. It's an awesome feature, and so that got an overhaul, right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's like heavily JavaScript, right?
You know,
was that true?
I actually wrote a little plugin over the weekend because I've started using it to write blog posts. Like I actually like it more than the standard editor. So I wrote this little plugin that adds press this to the new, like the plus new drop down in the toolbar.
Yeah.
So I can just link right to it and go to it and write a post.
Yeah.
Make that available, man.
You can just pull up wp-admin/press this.php and you'll get a blank post editor. Easy.
Yeah, simple.
So press this is excellent for curating content. I mean, that's what this is for.
Sure.
Right? So the way it works, and I'm just going to explain this for our audience. If you don't use this, basically you add a little bookmarklet. Here's how I use it. You put a little bookmarklet for press this in your bookmarks bar, right? You go to something that you want to curate or quote or pull from the internet. You select it. You click press this, and it just creates a post with whatever you've selected. It formats it into a post for you. I mean, as a curation tool, it's awesome.
It is.
Absolutely.
But I will say, I ran across that tool, and I wanted to go back to it. It was hard to find, so if you're looking for it, it's under Tools. And that's where you find the bookmarklet.
Or just go to something about it.
It's duplicated somewhere not under Tools anymore. Because Tools seemed like a very odd place to find it. It still under Tools.
It's just a terrible screen in and of itself.
Yeah.
How do you really feel?
Like it's a great
where else would you
picture,
put it? Like, would you put it? I think it used to be in the writing settings. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was looking for it, under wrighting.
So you said it was somewhere else now?
Well, we also duplicated the about page.
They didn't slap it in the customizer yet?
I don't know. I thought it might have been dropped into the dashboard or the settings writing or something, but that may have just been...
It used to be in settings writing and tools, and we took it out of writing, I think. Although it might still be in there. Did we take it out? I think
it's not in settings writing currently.
Well, it's probably buried under all the Jetpack settings. You can't find it.
No, I'm looking on it.
No, I put it on a blank install. I couldn't find it except under Tools.
I think it might be gone out of there.
Oh well.
I like it.
Right,
I like it, but I wish the only thing that it did different is gave you the ability from the UI to be able to change the look and feel of the output of it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Without having to go and write a whole bunch of code to be able to get it to do that.
The default look, though, is very nice. The only thing that I thought was weird was that you couldn't pick like a featured image.
Yeah, I think
but everything else, like I like how it was formatted.
4.3.
Yeah, I think part of it too is just the way they sort of envisioned the workflow of that. You're probably not going to finish your post in the Press This editor, right? You're going to save the draft and go to the standard editor where you can do whatever you want. I think that was the initial thinking, but then when we sort of enforced the idea of feature parity, we're like, yeah, you can't take the taxonomies out. Like, you have to add them back in. Things like that. I think originally they were thinking that it would be sort of a very first hit, like a quick draft on steroids, and then you would go to the standard editor and finish. So that's why we lost them.
If you think of it as a content creation tool or a curation tool,
Sure.
It does exactly that. Like Evernote. That's what it's for.
Evernote, yeah, Sketch.
Absolutely.
Right. So emojis.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Everyone's favorite feature.
Some people are loving them. Some people are frustrated because it's adding a little bit of overhead to the front end with polyfills and whatnot. Honestly, I like it. I'm excited to see the day when the polyfills aren't necessary and it can just run native.
I think I'm more interested in the broader aspect of character support, not necessarily just emoji. I mean, emoji are cool, and the whole like emoji and slugs thing is crazy, but really cool. But at the same time, I think the character support is the best. You know, like the Han character support is huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because now it has like Asian native. It has Asian character support natively.
Sure.
Yep. Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically updating a lot of the database structure to support the multi-byte character sets is fantastically important because, I mean, if for no reason other than, I think it was probably 2 years ago, I was sitting down writing a little plugin that would scrape Instagram feeds, I think it was, and just like save them to the WordPress database for pulling up and displaying later. And every once in a while, the thing would just die. I would have no idea what happened. The data just died. And I found out that it was because I was importing some strings that had multi-byte emoji characters in it. And when I tried to write that to the database, it just gave up. It said, no, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not having any of that.
I don't know what that is, and I don't know.
So the fact that we're not dying when someone tries to import a string that happens to include a multi-byte character is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't like dying.
Dying is bad. I suggest avoiding it. Highly recommend.
So we got 2 new embeds, right? Excuse me, native embeds inside of WordPress. So we got support for Tumblr, which was killer, and then Kickstarter.
Well, there's actually a caveat with the Tumblr one.
Okay.
It actually okay. So it only works. It only works for Tumblr.com Tumblogs. So if you're running your Tumblr behind a subdomain, because there's currently no way for us to the discovery and OEmbed is not turned on, so there's no way to detect if it's a Tumblr unless it's on Tumblr.com because we're matching.
Well, a subdomain of Tumblr.com.
Right, or a subdomain of Tumblr.com. So I think in 4.3 they're gonna do some trickery to make it work with everything, but that's so we just made a little change to the string in the about page that says Tumblr.com. And Kickstarter, because
so if I try to embed SuzetteAngryCats.tumblr.com, then I'm gonna have a problem.
No, that'll work fine because that's a subdomain.
Absolutely.
Oh,
but
okay.
Suzette'sAngryCats.com wouldn't if it was.
Oh my God, it would.
If she has her own custom domain for her Tumblr on Angry Cats. Sorry, Suzette.
But it's still, I mean, it works amazingly well. It looks great.
Cool.
That's cool. Updates.
Well, let's talk. Actually, Jason, I was going to say, just for our audience, just so they understand what we're talking about here, a native embed is something where you actually just take the URL of a Tumblr page and put it into the body of your post, and then WordPress does the rest. It turns it into a Tumblr card, or I don't know what you call. I don't know what a Tumblr thing is. It's either a Twitter card or a.
That sounds about right. What's a Tumblr card?
A Tumblr card. I just made it a Tumblr card.
We could use that.
Just magically shows up in your editor, you know.
Yeah, just like when you stick a YouTube video in there or a Vimeo or something like that, it just automatically plops it in there.
But the key here is and for those of you who haven't used more recent versions of WordPress, is you don't have to take the entire embed code from YouTube anymore. You just take the YouTube URL, you paste it in, and then WordPress does the rest. What's that, Suzette?
People still do that. They still use the whole Vimeo. I'm trying to tell them about embeds, but I think they're awesome.
Hey, nice T-shirt.
Isn't it a great T-shirt?
Yeah,
I love
that.
Well, I mean, Suzette, as long as they're using the visual editor, I think it'll eventually sink in, just because it's instant. You know, the stuff is pretty darn cool now.
I'm with Suzette, most people don't know this. I do this with my clients all the time. I show that I'm constantly teaching them how to go get the URL of a YouTube or a tweet and then paste it in without doing the whole share code. Or
maybe it's too good. Sorry. Do you ever wonder if it's too good?
You've made it. You've made it too easy.
They can't figure it out because it's too easy.
Oh,
It is too easy.
There's not nearly enough trial, in the.
Right. I need more steps.
We need to Windowsize it, Like,
well,
We
there
need
is a plugin that adds Clippy.
Yeah.
There is, actually. That's right.
Didn't
I thought that got taken down for like copyright on Clippy from Microsoft or something.
or
Oh,
use that
probably they
plugin
got a
from
cease
Alex
and
Nell or
desist.
something.
Yeah, it's still there. WP-Clippy.
Clippy.
I think it might just be too easy. That's the problem. Same with like drag and drop uploads. Like it's too obvious. We need to make it less obvious.
Yeah.
You know what we could do? We could put some stuff in the help text, and that would be a great way to make it less obvious.
We could make a whole group about it.
No one ever
We could
wants
also
to
start
help
training users to look at the.
We could also use Drupal.
I'm not going
No, that's like a whole.
So, the next topic.
there. I love Drupal. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Streamlined
I've never
plugin
used it.
updates is
All right,
pretty,
we could
awesome.
We could always use Joomla. Should I keep going?
No, they use
I think
Hey,
that's an
you
option with
No.
Jetpack,
As
isn't
long
it?
as you're continuing with open source projects, I will have no issues. The minute you start saying, "Hey, we could use this proprietary OSIT solution," I'll start giving you dirty looks.
Jason, make sure you edit this section out.
Oh yeah, I edited everything. Oh yeah, no problem. We go straight to tape, dude. So streamlined plugin updates. I think that's a pretty sweet way of being able to do updates now. The idea is that you see your list of updates, you go and click on the update button, and then it just magically updates without having to update the screen. Like do a whole page refresh. It just goes through and just updates each one of the plugins.
It's amazing.
I love that because there's always that moment when you used to click update and it would go to another screen and you're all like, please work, please work, please work. So now that's been eliminated. So
Now
nice.
this may possibly be the one feature that has become too easy to break your site.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean,
That's true.
what happened? When does the white screen occur in this process if you install a conflicting plugin or a bad plugin?
Well, I'm pretty sure it happens after 30 seconds when PHP times out, but but it fires it off through Ajax. It's just a. I don't think.
I'm kidding. This is a great feature. This is a great feature and one you should turn off plugin updates for your clients anyway.
We're going into that one, huh, Steve?
I'm not touching that.
Come
Where's
on,
that
guys,
pencil
get the
pull at?
water cooler. Come on, somebody has to play Steve's part today.
Hey, as long as you're not turning off auto updates for your clients, I got no beef.
All right.
Yeah, turn off auto updates, but I mean.
Okay. All right. We'll save all of this for next week's show.
So what kind of under the hood type stuff that has been implemented that you liked?
Okay, so I got two. The first one is absolutely the WPA11Y speak feature that got put in.
Okay.
It lets your JavaScript send audible notifications to screen readers. So whereas before, right, so let me give you a great example. We actually used it with the new Shiny updates, right? When you click the button changes and it says updating or whatever, and there's a little spinny thing. And before, that would just happen, and then after it happened, maybe the screen readers would get some kind of notification, but usually not. They would click the button and then just pray that it worked.
So does it do like the Jeopardy song now, or what's it doing?
That would be pretty cool, but I think it just sends a notification that says this whatever plugin is updating now. And then when it's done, it says whatever plugin was updated. So it sends real-time notifications to screen readers, which is pretty cool.
That is awesome.
The second one was also on the About page, and it's complex ordering, query ordering. And basically what it lets you do is before, you could order by fields or number fields, meta fields, in a query, right? But you couldn't order by a meta clause, which would be if you do a meta clause of in a state called Colorado, right? But not in a state called Wyoming. Those are two different clauses.
Right.
You can now order by those clauses, right? So it gets pretty crazy. Like, you could do some pretty crazy stuff with query ordering now. And that's, I think, having Boone Gerges in there doing that kind of stuff is awesome because he knows absolutely what he's doing. And I think we're seeing a lot of really cool improvements going in there.
I love Boone.
Yeah, I just saw
awesome.
I saw the track ticket for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
And we found a way to sort of just like latch it onto the existing API, so we didn't really have to change much. Which is pretty cool. We all love Boone. Thanks, Boone.
So, how do you choose which features go into which release, and how do you know what's coming out? How do you choose which coming in 4.3?
Honestly, I think it's a balance of finding of resourcing, how many people and sort of what their interests are and skill level are, matched with how ready it is, whatever it is. You know? And
Okay.
I think a lot of the decision making really comes down to resourcing, right? You're working in a project that is staffed by volunteers. It's not like at a company where you have people who are paid to do it. It's like with volunteers, they say they're going to do it, and you hope that they actually mean it, right? and when they don't mean it, when they don't, and it's not anything against them. I mean, they're volunteers; they're giving you their free time. So you have to kind of work around those constraints of what can I feasibly get done in, say, the next 3 months or the next month or whatever, and then you figure out.
A lot of it is much simpler now that we've moved to the features as plugins. So the larger things can be iterated on for as long as it takes and then just rolled in when they're ready. So, I mean, currently we've got like shortcake, which is a really cool way of letting you modify shortcodes in the editor. We've got responsive images. We've got image flow. There's a number of others that are currently being worked on. So it's never going to hold up a release. We just, if they're not ready yet, we won't ship them yet.
Yep. And a lot of it, and that sort of thinking goes into like when something goes into a release, right? Like there's big things that have to go in at the beginning because they need to soak for the entire release. So a lot of times stuff will get punted toward the end of a release because it's just too big to go in that late, right? So that's how we know it goes into 4.3 because it was too late to go into 4.2.
We're out of time. I was going to ask you another question, but I think we're out of time.
We got 30 seconds, Steve.
Yeah.
Was there anything that was punted for 4.2? Was there anything that was punted for 4.2?
Shiny installs for themes and core. It's coming. We'll have it soon.
Very cool. Well, that about does it for today. Make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com and click on the links there. We have all the show notes and all the links of everything that we've talked about, including track tickets. Crazy. Make sure you go to the website there and also click on the subscribe buttons on YouTube and all the other things. Thank you very much for being on the show today, and you guys have a good rest of your day.
Great job.
Everyone. Bye.